There are certain things that Sophia can do that we can't. And then there is our part in correction. It needs to be understood really with great rigor and honesty and courage. And our part in the correction involves facing these predators. So
in presenting that information over the next few weeks, you're giving us the keys to unlock those chiral locks, the trauma of that day and the stories and the conspiracies around that will help us to just cut to the truth.
That is my intention, to cut to the truth, cut to the chase. We don't need any conspiracy theory to understand 9/11. All we need is the coordination of observation and telling the right story. Every single person has to do it by themselves. This is the nature of this riddle. It is a very, very deep and a very demanding riddle, the 9/11 horror. It's a riddle. And no one can solve that riddle for anyone else. But what I intend to do, what I wish to attempt in this contribution of mine, is to just give a framework for a method, you're exactly right, for a method of breaking the psyops and getting to the truth of what happened.
Important work. Thanks, John. We'll move on to the next section, our relationship with Sophia, Gaia, and her memory. Mm-hmm. Okay. And my question would be, can Sophia's correction be accomplished without our own individual correction? I think it relates to some of what we were just talking about.
Exactly, yes.
Right. And is not our own correction to be more closely aligned to natural law, such that our mind, heart, and spirit are as one? The brain hemispheres are united and aligned, and this is the piece, aligned with the generative principle, the sacred feminine. What are your thoughts on that?
That is our correction, for sure. There are a number of elements in our role in correction. Mm-hmm. The first one is to accept the path to interactivity, which Sophia herself offers. I call myself the main turton. What is a turton? What is a turton? It's a term from Tibetan Buddhism, right? And it means a treasure finder. So the treasure is called the turma, and the person who finds it is called the turton, And when I found the treasure in August of 2008 of what I call the Terma of Gaia awakening, I was in a manic state for 8 months, 24 hours a day. By the recognition of what I had discovered.
Right.
And I recognized, I got the Terma. The Terma comes, and this is actually the case as well, in the classical Tibetan setting. This is also the case. Dakini wisdom is not like channeling. Dakini wisdom and Dakini instruction has nothing to do, it does not resemble channeling, although it can be superficially mistaken for it. There are a number of distinct differences. The main one is that Dakini wisdom, which comes from Vivi herself, that is the Dakini identity of the earth, or from any of her 16 frequencies, is absolutely zip file cogent, impeccable. It's like a crystal elixir that drops on your tongue, one drop at a time. It's the tongue of your mind. It drops on the tongue of your mind, and you taste it. It goes right into your cells. It's a crystal elixir. When I got the 3 drops, as it were, of the Terma of Gaia awakening, 3 lines in this Terma, this nectar of wisdom, this Amrita, it was so overwhelmingly, awesomely beautiful that it took me weeks to get a hold of what I had received and to be able to just sit down like a sensible person and say what it was. You know,
Right.
And now I can tell you, as the main turton, exactly what it is. The term of Gaia awakening in 3 lines is the invitation of the wisdom goddess to be interactive with her. It's her own instruction of how to contact her. So our first responsibility in correction is to make that contact, okay?
Yes.
And we do it through the Gaian Tantric vow, through saying her name, which in itself, her name is like honey dripping off the lip of a crystal vase. And in that stream of honey sparkles lightning, because her name is lightning. She is flirtatious lightning. And this is what she really is, my friends. This is no metaphor. She is flirtatious lightning when she comes to you in the atmosphere of the earth. She is a sensual and erotic presence of the most awesome magnitude. And she just wants to play. And so we are drawn back to the divine experiment by her invitation. And the first thing is to respond by calling her name, making an intention or vow to her, and bonding your life to the life of the earth. You know, I can't say what's going to be the fate of the earth. There's all this stupid fear-mongering that's been going on for years and years now. Comets coming in and we're going to be destroyed by solar flares, and I get sick and tired of hearing all this crap. All I can say is that if I'm going to be destroyed with the earth in a cometary crash or in a coronal emission, well, just fine and dandy. Why shouldn't I like that? The earth created me in the first place. If I'm going to die with the earth, what else could I ask? You know, what more could I ask? So escapism is not the way here. Our correction lies in a number of steps. That's one of them. And the other one is dealing with interspecies predators. She can bring down the system of patriarchy. She can bring it down to its foundation. She can demolish it. She is in the process, if you'll excuse the reference, of a controlled demolition of patriarchy and the dominator-predator insanity that permeates the institutions of this planet. It's a bigger job than any of us can do, let's face it. The situation has gone way beyond the scale of human correction. So she brings it down, and then we deal with the aftermath. And the reason why we need to come to be able to face the predators is that so that they don't reboot their system once it's come down.
Will you be including in your instruction, you talked earlier in another interview about recognizing predators. Will you be including some of the, or psychopaths, same thing. Will you be including some of that material?
Certainly I will. And okay. I will include that in the third piece on open season on predators, which I'm currently preparing for metahistory.org. Some people have been breathing down my neck, just like the Dakinis themselves do. Say, John, when you get this third piece out there, come on. And I'm getting it out, and it will lay out the framework for Gaian ethics and the foundation for this contra-violence, as I call it, that is activist practice against the predators. And also, you can learn, you can give yourself, take a week, and spend 6 hours on the internet during a week, closely selecting a number of clips and a number of sites, and will give you a hell of an education about predators. About psychopaths, one of the great things about what's happened since 9/11, even though we haven't cracked the psyops yet, and we don't really know who did it and why, we have really educated ourselves. You got to hand us that, Mm-hmm. And so much more about how the system is rigged at every level. And so knowledge of the behavior and profile of a psychopath is a responsibility of every socially responsible person on this earth. And it's not that hard to learn. It's not that difficult a subject.
Thanks for restating that. I think that's important for us to take note of. Thank you very much, John.
You're very welcome.
Hello, John. As Sophia awakens from her lucidity and starts to remember the divine experiment, will she still be able to sustain the consciousness of the planetary aspect of her being?
Fantastic question. Absolutely fantastic. And I just love this question because it really reveals, a knowledge of the experiment. It really reveals a sense that you are aware of what's at stake here. I don't know. We'll see. We are seeing. I shouldn't say we'll see. We are seeing. And the amazing thing about the unique thing about the Gaian navigation experiment is in the way that it's plotted using the constellations and using the mythological imagery. We can be with her in real time at the moments when she remembers these things. So she remembers the initial conditions of the pact that she made with humanity in January of 2012. And if we're there, observant in our first attention and receptive in the second attention, we can remember it at the moment that she does. Now, the question you ask is technically elegant and correct. One of the questions that people have been posing me since the experiment got underway is, geez, isn't it kind of late in the game here, I mean, humanity's hanging by a thread here. I mean, really, we are, Human species is hanging by a thread here. I mean, the predators have taken us way, way down the road to annihilation. And, what's taking her so long to kick into gear and get involved with us so that we can turn this situation around? Well, keep your imagination in the frame of her story. If you do so, you'll find that any question that comes up, like the one you're posing to me here, can be developed and ultimately answered, but only in the framework of her story. What does the framework of her story tell us? It tells us that when she made the pact with humanity, before the earth arose, she presumed that she could intervene in our situation from the pleroma, that is, from the galactic center. So when she was setting up our experiment in her mind, she saw it as an intervention scenario. She said to herself, okay, I'm going to subject this strain of the human species on this planet, which she didn't know was going to be herself. I'm going to subject them to a certain risk. And I'm going to see how they handle it. But if it gets so bad that they can't handle the risk and they're in threat of being annihilated by this, I'll intervene. That was her original scenario before her plunge. Well, after her plunge, she became deeply involved in the planetary system. She morphed into the Earth itself. And for aeons, she has been micromanaging and multitasking the entire planet. And so her attention has been entirely absorbed in being a planet. And now, only now, in